This place isn't meant for humans. Temperatures drop below -60. Blizzards last for days. And yet, through this frozen emptiness, a train is running. A railway through the Arctic. Massive craters, some wider than 70 meters across, have opened up without warning, as methane explosively blows out of the ground, some as close as 1.6 kilometers to the railway. Why would anyone risk so many lives, so much infrastructure, in a place where the ground itself is collapsing? Maybe because this isn't just about trains. Maybe it's about something a little larger, a little more high stakes.
It is also becoming a new source of energy for the world. Some experts estimate that the Arctic accounts for...
Decades ago, Soviet engineers dreamed of a rail line to the Arctic. In the late 1940s, Stalin launched the Transpolar Railway, an ambitious project to link Siberia's Arctic coastlines. Thousands of Gulag prisoners were forced to work in brutal conditions. Sub-zero temperatures, months of darkness during polar nights, and endless swamps. Many succumbed to frostbite, starvation, exhaustion, and disease. Workers were often poorly clothed and fed. Camp guards maintained harsh discipline with little regard for human life. Estimates say thousands died. Some say tens of thousands. The railway was nicknamed the Dead Road. Much of the construction was abandoned after Stalin's death in 1953. Tracks and equipment were left incomplete and rusting, but the Soviets would try again. Later, in the 1980s, engineers planned the rail line to service the northern gas fields. Yet the terrain fought back. Steel snapped in freezing temperatures, and permafrost thawed and refroze unpredictably, swallowing foundations whole. The Urabay River, with its wide floodplain, posed a significant barrier, requiring the construction of a unique flyover, the longest over the Arctic Circle. Equipment failures were common, and construction materials had to be transported via ice roads or short summer shipping windows. By the early 2000s, the project had stalled under economic strain. All hope seemed lost. Until someone looked at the ice. It was melting. Climate change had hit. Around the world, it's a looming disaster. But in Russia, it sparked a new opportunity. Melting permafrost has revealed access to some of the planet's most valuable untapped resources. Massive gas fields like Bovanenkovo, oil reserves beneath the Arctic shelf, and rare earth metals critical to modern technology. The Arctic is one of the last great global frontiers, rich in resources, but harsh and difficult to govern. To unlock this wealth, Russia invested heavily in rail infrastructure to connect these remote resources to the rest of the country and the world. In 2010, the Russian energy giant Gazprom opened a new line, stretching over 570 kilometers across the Yamal Peninsula, linking the massive gas fields to Russia's broader rail network. However, more was to come. In 2018, the Kremlin announced the Northern Latitudinal Railway, a planned 700-kilometer route to connect resource fields. Looking forward, a second Arctic line along the Northern Sea Route is planned to create a direct corridor from resource fields to Asian markets, paralleling the Trans-Siberian Railway. However, the same challenges that were faced decades ago by the Soviet Union are faced by Russia today. Yet they push on. They push on because the race for the Arctic will not sit idle. The Arctic isn't just remote wilderness. It's a fierce geopolitical battleground shaping the future of global power. Russia has transformed its Arctic presence into a formidable network of military bases. In 2017, it reopened an airbase in Franz Josef Land, bringing back fighter jets after decades of silence. With over 40 icebreakers, the largest fleet in the world, Russia breaks through thick ice, keeping shipping lanes open longer than anyone else can. Its nuclear-powered icebreaker, Arctica, made headlines in 2020 by becoming the first to reach the North Pole during the winter. Meanwhile, Western nations watch closely. Canada and Norway have launched ambitious icebreaker programs, while the US Coast Guard plans new heavy icebreakers to catch up. NATO has increased Arctic patrols, citing Russia's military buildup as a direct challenge to regional security. China, calling itself a near-Arctic state, invests billions in research stations and infrastructure projects in Russia. In 2019, a Chinese cargo ship made its first voyage through the Northern Sea Route, cutting weeks off traditional routes via the Suez Canal. Why this rush? The Arctic holds an estimated 13% of the world's undiscovered oil and 30% of its undiscovered gas, and lots of rare earth metals. Control over these resources, and the routes to export them means economic power and geopolitical leverage. In 2021, but the Arctic has a way of pushing back. Under these rails, the ground is giving way. Thawing permafrost twists steel and sinks pylons, turning every repair into a race against time. Up here, survival, ambition, and rivalry all meet at the end of the Earth. The train keeps pushing north, but the real fight for the Arctic's future? That's only just getting started. And the world is watching.